Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. And today, it's Wednesday, we're going to be talking all the wrestling news. And to talk about all the wrestling news, I need a great panel. And let's kick things off with the Tuesday Night Delight, a day late. How are you, Shad?
What's going on, man? Throw your deuces up in the sky for the Tuesday Night Delight. I'm good, bro. It is a eventful amount of topics. Pro wrestling is a fun thing for fans again, and I'm excited to talk it with the panel today. So yeah, let's get into it.
Absolutely. No, we are going to jump straight into things. And Soul saying, 1 minute late, it's unacceptable. For once, it's not our fault, like, at all. The streaming platform we use to stream on, it's saying it's got unexpected high traffic, so we had to wait 30 to 60 seconds, but at least we're live now. But also, the Instagram hate comments are back. Also joining us today, we have Chaos. How are you, Chaos?
What's good, everybody? Yes, happy Wednesday. We got a lot to talk about. I'm here with my Acknowledge the Bloodline t-shirt. Ooh. And yeah, just happy to be here. Let's go. Yeah.
I mean, we might be happy right now, Chaos, but are we going to be happy in a couple of hours' time? Are England going to bring it home?
No, they're going to bring their butts home. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. Well, we'll see.
The thing is, if it was Arsenal, I'd be talking the big talk right now and be like, no, we're going to win. We're going to do all this. I have no faith in England. I have absolutely none. But also joining us today is the guy who hopes that England are going to lose today in the football, and that is David. How are you, David?
I'm not too bad. Thank you so much for having me once again to talk all of the wrestling news. I've just had to go around my house and make sure that all of the windows are shut, because I think in a couple of hours, all the tears of England fans are going to float across the Severn in clouds and come down. And you know what? I will go out and bask in it. I will go out and do my best Gene Kelly and sing and dance in the rain. I do have the umbrella from when I did that several years ago. Yes, so they're going home. They're going home. They're going. Let's go. Let's talk wrestling.
I'm going to catch a couple of those tears in my Wraith Energy tumbler. So that's what it's going to be.
Yes.
Good. You can also get for 10% off if you use my code Chaos Wraith, by the way. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Absolutely. Go and do that. We got a couple of comments. We got Melissa in the comments. Hello, Melissa. She is all saying that England is a emoji I can't say. I mean, to be fair, you know it's bad when you're not believing in your own country anymore. And Kath K's K is saying Spain's going to win, and to be honest with you, I think you're probably right. But anyway, Let's talk wrestling, shall we? Because I said today on Wrestling Republic News that truthfully, I'm not sure if TNA are going to regret this deal with WWE. Why did I say that? Well, very simply because a lot of TNA stars, their contracts are up in the next year, and I feel like WWE are just going to take all the talents which they want, and they could well be in a similar situation to what's happened with New Japan and AEW. Shad, I'd love to get your thoughts on this.
Man, so it's a double-edged sword, right? Where I think any exposure to a bigger platform on a bigger market, on a more prominent cable television channel could be beneficial to TNA as a product. It gives them an opportunity to get their brand out there, and I mean, that type of exposure is good, but I highly agree with your point. I do fear that this is kind of the situation that is at hand. I do think you risk the potential of losing star talent going to WWE or even going to an AEW once their contract's up. The thing is this, right? I'm on a mindset, and I'm always going to be on the mindset of it, of I want what's best for a professional wrestler. I don't have an allegiance to a specific promotion. I'm fans of these promotions and whatnot, and I spend a lot of time watching it. But at the end of the day, what's best for a wrestler is best for a wrestler, and for them, this is great. Like for a Joe Hendry, for a Jordynne Grace, they're getting the just due of being on a bigger platform, getting that exposure, and it's gonna benefit them. But yeah, like you say, you run the risk of losing them to the WWE, but that's just the nature of the game, man. Like big fish eat little fish, bro. That's what's gonna happen at the end of the day, and they're gonna find their way to that big league regardless. That's how it is. TNA's gotta. It's more indicative on what TNA needs to do. They gotta figure a way to make the promotion more notable for people to want to stay for a long time and not stay for a cup of coffee. They're lucky. Jordynne Grace has signed many extensions. Joe Hendry has signed many extensions prior to it as well. So there is a sense of allegiance to him, but for how long? Like you can only stand in the mud for as long as you can. They have aspirations. They have financial aspirations that can be reached in another company, and that's something that TNA's got to do. So at the end of the day, it's on them, right? If you're not giving me
Yeah.
something that's uh worth my time and my money, then I'm not gonna go there. Like I'll go there. I'll have fun. I'll do what I need to do while I'm there. But if something more beneficial comes down the pipeline, who am I? I'm a fool if I do that. And I say that about anything. I say that about any type of job as well. No person is. You're not pledging allegiance to any company at the end of the day. You got to do what's best for yourself as an individual.
Yeah, I mean, I played devil's advocate when I was talking about this earlier, right? But if I'm actually being honest about my thoughts on the situation, I'll give them right now, right? The difference, I think, between this and the difference between the WWE and TNA relationship and the New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW one is I think the New Japan and AEW one was meant to be, they were meant to be equals, right? Whereas I think with this TNA WWE partnership, I think TNA, their aim is actually to become basically a feeder promotion to WWE, right? And that doesn't mean that they're a developmental brand, right? They'll have stars who stay in TNA forever. But if they have some, young and up-and-coming talents who WWE really like, well then, WWE will take them at the end of their deals. Similar to what they do in UFC, right? Because UFC have tons of feeder promotions, including, I've got them listed here, LFA, Cage Warriors, Fury Pro Grappling, and a lot more, right? And they put those promotions on their Fight Pass, their version of the WWE Network. They get tons of exposure to them, but when it comes down to it at the end of the day, their best fighters, UFC take. But those promotions still stay and they still thrive. So I reckon that's what WWE are trying to do with TNA here. And I think TNA are happy to be in that role. But if I'm wrong and TNA think they are going to be equals, then no, I'll go back to the original take. I think this is going to be a big mistake. But Chaos, I want to go to you next. What's your thoughts on this situation?
I don't think that TNA will regret this WWE deal because there's no way that they think they're on the same level as WWE. Because see, in gaming terms, I put TNA in as like Nintendo. Like they know their lane, they stay in it. They don't try to compete with the big leagues. They're just there and they're just having a good time. And yeah, like they know how far they can go. They try to go against WWE, obviously back in the Dixie Carter days, and obviously we look what happened with that. But yeah, I think they're fine with the role that they got, and they know that obviously they get maximum exposure under if they work with WWE, especially with this new era that obviously the reinvention of TNA. So I'm fine with it, and I think they're fine with it being somewhat of a as long as TNA, the people that leave TNA go to WWE and they actually have that potential to go back and forth with WWE with TNA again, then I'm cool with that. I mean, because at the end of the day, I want to see Jordynne Grace go full time with WWE. I want to see her against Jade Cargill. I want to see her against Io Sky. I want to see her against the whole of Damage Control. Like there's numerous, like her against Becky Lynch. I want to see all these matches. But yeah, she, once every so often goes and appears for Bound for Glory pay-per-view. I'm cool with that. And yeah, the way that obviously if they do end up being like a somewhat feeder system, I think they can still thrive under that. I mean, let's just go under like in soccer terms, or football, the right term, football. In the German league, the Bundesliga, there's Borussia Dortmund. Usually that they are like a feeder system to the big teams like Bayern Munich and whatnot. And usually when people want to leave, when players want to leave by Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich has first dibs, and they go over there or they go to another big team, and they still thrive, and there's meant to be a feeder system for the big German teams. So yeah, I think if TNA is cool with that, then I think they could still thrive under that, and just as long as they don't get too lost in the shuffle and they're a bit bare bones at the end of it. But yeah, if they let their biggest stars go back and forth between promotions, but they're full time in WWE, I have no problem with that. So yeah, there's no way that they will regret that TNA deal, or the partnership, because right now it's doing big numbers for them. So yeah.
That's true. It is, and yeah, I mean, like I said, I think there's one way in which they do regret it, and that's that if they think this is, an equal partnership, because it's not going to be, but surely they're not stupid enough to think that Soul saying that I would say TNA has wasted Nick Nemeth so far and he'd be better off staying in WWE. Well, WWE fired him. I mean, that's
that's not his choice.
They got rid of him. Yeah.
He could have. He wanted to stay. They didn't want him to be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They were like, thanks, Nick, but good luck. But David, what about you? What's your feeling on this entire situation?
Well, I have a very similar feeling to you guys, I think. I am very excited by the TNA partnership. I'm enjoying the TNA partnership. It's nice to see these crossover appeals. I said the same thing about AEW and Impact. I said the same thing about AEW and New Japan. I said the same thing about AEW and CMLL. I like wrestling crossover. I like seeing different people go to different promotions and have matches you never thought you'd see. With that said, I agree. I look at what happened with AEW and New Japan. Specifically, I look at this year's Forbidden Door. If you look at the trajectory of Forbidden Door, the more the years have gone on, it's always kind of been this way, but particularly this year, I really felt this idea with the Forbidden Door show that New Japan did not want to send its top talents over there. If you look at particularly their younger talent, because look at the people we got on the show. We got people like Naito, we got Ishii, he was on the 0 Hour, but a lot of older beatable talents on the New Japan side. If you look at, Yota Tsuji was on the pre-show, Gabe Kidd on the pre-show, TJP nowhere to be seen, Ren Narita nowhere to be seen, Shota Umino was on the gauntlet on Dynamite, not on the show. They seem to be afraid of sending a lot of their top talents because they've all gone. All the top talents that New Japan have been poached by AEW. The question is, a lot of AEW, so a lot of TNA's biggest talents right now, outside of probably Joe Hendry, they're not young guys. Nick Nemeth, Kazarian, Moose, they're not young guys. They're sort of 40s and late 30s, early 40s wrestlers, who are great for TNA, and also I don't think will probably won't make the jump. Outside of Hendry, I think a lot of them probably won't make the jump back to WWE now. The thing is, with a lot of their young guys, I don't expect to see Leon Slater on WWE TV because I think WWE will want to poach him straight away. It becomes difficult. I agree. I think TNA will become a feeder system, and I think they're happy with that. I think at the moment, what TNA will want to become is the number 2 brand, or maybe not even that, maybe the number 3. Because I think they are currently comfortably third in the world behind WWE and third in America, behind WWE and AEW. I think they're ahead of New Japan right now, comfortably. I think they're more in contest with Noah and Tokyo Joshi Pro, and I think GCW aren't quite where they used to be either. So I think for the number 3 in the world, I think that's probably who you're looking at now. But I think TNA are happy where they are. As Chaos said, they tried to go against WWE when Hogan and Bischoff were in charge, and that failed spectacularly badly. So I think TNA are quite happy in their lane. I'm hoping this continues and is fruitful, but I wonder if you start to get the same thing that happened where all their top stars are leaving them to go to WWE, if you start to see a pullback on who they're letting go over there. If Grace goes and Hendry goes and the Rascals go, and you start to see all these people that they're bringing in the system just disappearing. TNA have got to stay alive somehow. So if they keep losing people, that might be a conversation to have. But for now, I think we're okay. But that'll be a conversation to see how we go down the line.
Yeah, I mean, in recent years, we've seen a lot of like TNA talents, go to AEW, right? And that's going to be something interesting to see, long term now. If when people's deals expire in TNA, if they do actually still, go to AEW, or if just everybody goes to WWE if they do decide to leave. Like, that's going to be interesting. If part of this is maybe to try and stop AEW from getting, the top young talents from TNA and saying to TNA, hey, we'll help you out at times, but the people who are going to leave you, and you already know they're going to leave you because they're too good for you, well, we want to make sure they go to us, not AEW. Perhaps that's part of the plan.
Well,
Yeah.
quick question though. Like, what about the people like in a good example is like a Naomi, right? Former WWE wrestler who went there to kind of just jumpstart her career back up and then goes back to WWE. You guys like Soul mentioned Nick Nemeth is there, Mustafa Ali, Mia Yim was another person who went there, restarted her career, came back to the WWE. You could even see situations like that. Like I feel like they are, as long as they're comfortable with their identity of being that, like David said, third brand, and being cool with the revolving door. They can't commit to people being there for the long haul, then yeah, it's fine. But if they're trying to progress and be like a main stage factor, I don't see how that current juncture is gonna happen.
But I think they know as well that there just isn't space for like a third real competitor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, TNA the fact TNA have survived is incredible. Let's be honest. This long, through it thick and thin. What I'm wondering is whether TNA might lose some people who might sign there because of the partnership with WWE if there's a bad fallout. I think, for example, Dijak, Dijak, I don't think wants anything to do with WWE right now. I think he's made that quite clear. And so I wonder if that was someone TNA might be looking at. I'm not using him as a specific example.
That's a good point. It's a
good
example.
Could there be people who just go, because of that partnership and because of that possibility, I might try AEW. I might try GCW, MLW, Japan. I might try those other options instead of going to TNA with that sort of link.
I don't think you'd be stupid to go to a different promotion, right? Other than TNA or whatever. Maybe like you said, go to GCW, MLW. I think those are all great promotions, and there's, a lot, maybe less competition there too. That would be, maybe you could stand out a bit better. But if the reason that you don't go to TNA is because of their relationship with WWE, then any talent who says that, I think, would be ridiculously stupid, because that they're getting significantly more of a spotlight because of WWE. So if any, maybe a couple of people will, but if they do, I think they'd be stupid too. But talking about what talents are going where, we're not talking about why Carlito is still in the Judgment Day. We're actually going to be talking about why Stephanie Vaquer is no longer in CMLL and New Japan Pro Wrestling, because we have a little bit of breaking news here today, and that breaking news is Stephanie has left CMLL and New Japan Pro Wrestling due to personal reasons. She has been stripped of her championships, and there are two possible, factors here, and those two possible factors are probably WWE or AEW. The wording of it, the fact that she's left CMLL and New Japan Pro Wrestling, to me, it screams of WWE, unless, and it's a big unless, this is some type of work. Shad, I'd love to get your perspective on this one.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see it came so abruptly. I know Stephanie Vaquer, for all the right reasons, has been a big spotlighted wrestler to a lot of people ever since the incredible match for Mercedes at Forbidden Door, as well as all the great work she's done in New Japan and as well as CMLL, having those titles and defenses. But it's alarming, and normally when we see wrestlers not doing independent dates and whatnot, a lot of it is tied to, they signed a contract with somewhere. And like you said, the two places are either AEW or WWE. So her going there, I respect it. Like if she does choose to go to WWE or AEW, I definitely expect it, because like I said earlier, I think someone as talented and as young as her, being that great, doing amazing in a big crowd in front of all these people at Forbidden Door, especially, and as over as she needs to get an opportunity to showcase her talents on a bigger promotion. Where I think she goes, I'm fine with either one, to be honest with you, Ben. I think AEW could definitely benefit having Stephanie. There's familiarity, obviously, with the fans and her. And she had a great match with arguably the greatest wrestler in women's wrestling history, Mercedes, and one of their best women's wrestlers on the roster. She can mix it up with a lot of other girls on the roster, and she could be a focal point for a striving women's division. Like I said, I did put it in wrestling heaven, Ben. Remember that. But they're starting to really develop more, and they could use a star power. Her and WWE, they got a lot of talented women on that roster that she can have matches with. And I feel like they can also grow and have a young budding star. You look at NXT, I always rave about the women's division. I think it's super stacked and I think it's super talented. I think if you put her in NXT, let her kind of get familiar with the uh just how WWE's over there, get fans familiar with her. I don't think she'd miss a beat because I think they got talented women there where it would keep her fresh and have her doing work. And then when she gets to the main roster, same thing, man. A match versus her and Io, right? Crazy. Her and Rhea Ripley, Becky when she returns, Charlotte, like Bianca. There's so many women that she can have great matches with, as well as on AEW. So if this is an inkling that she is going to AEW or WWE, I'm super excited. She's a talent that I thought benefited the most from Forbidden Door, and like out of all the wrestlers that were on that card, I thought they built up the storyline super well with her and Mercedes, with all the promo packages and moments with each other, and just the look, like her how she presents herself in the arena. She looks like a dang star. So I think she's not gonna miss a beat whenever she gets to the States.
I absolutely agree with you wholeheartedly. She is a heck of a talent. I think you've got something you want to add, David?
Yeah, all I was going to add is that WWE and AEW are the obvious option, right? Because we're Western wrestling fans, and I think that is the easiest place for us to go. The other option is, if she's leaving, you could also look at places like Tokyo Joshi, and you can also look at Marigold, which hasn't been mentioned. I don't think that will be the case. I'll be honest, I don't think Marigold has exploded in the way that we thought it was going to. No. I think Julia getting injured really did not help that, because I think that was going to be their big shining star. It's been good. I've seen plenty of good matches from Marigold since they've started up, but like they're currently doing a tour, and it's all just house show stuff, and it's all so filler.
Too, right?
And they do. I think they've got their pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and Julia's wrestling on it.
Yes, but that confirmed. I think is where I think their explosion is going to happen, because that's where their titles come into play. Yeah. So could they be they've added Stephanie Vaquer as another option to that women's division? I don't think it's likely. I think WWE is more likely, or AEW are more likely. But I think when we talk about wrestling, it's very easy to just go, is it WWE? Is it AEW? Understandably so. When somebody leaves,
it's a good point. Great perspective.
But there are other options, particularly for women's wrestling, because both Tokyo Joshi and Marigold have status in women's wrestling that I do not think would be bad shouts for her, even if I don't think it's as likely as the big Western promotions.
A really, really great point, David. And we have a couple of comments here. Slabby McDaberson, heck of a username that, is saying thank you. If she signs with AEW, they definitely approached her. Well, I mean, here's the thing. If she signed with AEW, would she really be leaving and like saying completely goodbye to the two promotions which they have partnerships with? Unless it's a work.
Possibly, and it may not be a work also, just because that's just a handshake deal that they did for an event. That can kind of be like, oh, you're really leaving us. You're not going to be here as a mainstay star for the time being. It could be a knee-jerk reaction. Who knows? Like, we really don't know.
Imagine, right, New Japan have been doing these Forbidden Door shows for 2-3 years now, right, and they've lost quite a few names. CMLL do join Forbidden Door for 1 year, and a couple of weeks later, they lose one of their top stars. I mean, that really would just be like, okay, well, maybe this Forbidden Door is not a good thing after all, but
One thing. It's what David
Yeah,
said earlier, right? You put them on that main stage, whether it's AEW or WWE. You gave her that exposure, and this
that's
is
true.
the price you gotta pay.
Oh, it's so unfortunate, isn't it? But talking about things which have gone wrong, well, Chaos, I think we can both agree that AEW Fight Forever has well and truly gone wrong. Of course, you host the gaming show Take It to the Game here at Wrestling Republic. I want to get your thoughts. How on earth has AEW Fight Forever gone so wrong that they're now offering all the DLCs for what was previously the price of one DLC, I believe?
Yeah, and that is one of the main reasons why you don't see me playing AEW Fight Forever on Take It to the Game. Yeah, I mean, the whole development of that whole game was an absolute dumpster fire. I mean, the fact that it was announced in November 2020, and then it went stone cold quiet for years. Understandably, it was early development and all that. But then the whole marketing of it was really up and down. We wasn't sure like who we were getting and what was the rollout of DLCs and whatnot. And obviously, it launched July in the summer last year. And yeah, the game did have some potential, but it was just very bare bones, and it's very confusing because the guys that made it are from Ukes and who were like the staple studio for the SmackDown games in the early PS1 PS2 era, before it moved to 2K. And yeah, all I know is whoever's running their PR or their marketing team, they don't know what they're doing, and especially the people that's running the DLCs and whatnot. I think what went wrong was just the poor messaging of what the rollout was for the future, for the game, and just mainly how outdated it is. And I know that we used to complain about that back when in a couple like before probably 2K20, maybe 22, where like it's as soon as that game comes out, half the roster is released, and or like the gimmick that they're doing now is 6 months out of date and whatnot. And I understand that things change, and you can't. It's hard to predict that what's happening on TV and now, but I think it's arguably they're way more on the ball now, since then. But yeah, it's just that they're just so behind the times, with the team that they have for AEW Fight Forever. I feel like they could probably get it back if they do another one, maybe with a different studio, or just be more in the ball and see what is the right roadmap, and what's the right yeah, I think the best term for it is a roadmap, because yeah, it's right now I feel like they were just really thinking on their feet, and there's no real true, you don't know where they're going, and yeah, you just don't know what they're doing with the game. So yeah, I think it was just what went wrong with it is the poor marketing, poor messaging of the game, and yeah, just the lack of know it all of how to really promote a game and how to keep the player retention in the game, and obviously the whole rollout of all these different editions where people have spent all this money, and you're coming out with this new bundle and trying to ask for this crazy amount of money for a game that's outdated and months old. It's really cringe. You don't see other big companies doing that. So yeah, that's what really turned people off. So I think they probably need to change the development team and someone that's very good at marketing and PR for how to do a game and have an exact roadmap.
Oh, your mic's gone, Chaos.
I got triggered. I pulled out my mic. Yeah, no.
Oh gosh,
that's what I'm saying.
do you know who I think should get fired? Right, whoever made the decision on the 10th of January 2024, right? So only a few months ago, to charge. There's also now an echo on your end, Chaos, as well. I think your audio. But somebody, right, on the 10th of January 2024 in AEW made the decision to charge £10, $10.99, right, or $9.99. Sorry, I presume that'll be like $11 in America. Charge that much for one wrestler, and that one wrestler is Toni Storm. Her old gimmick. She's almost had this new gimmick at this point for a year. And what?
It's so
£10 for an old
outdated.
gimmick.
It's so painful, and they're coming out with these new seasons trying to make this whole. As much as you only see mainly like this one post about, okay, we got these new people coming in, but whereas WWE when it comes to the new season, they put out the entrances, they do like special, they do proper promotion for it. Whereas AEW, they just put one post on Instagram, maybe one tweet, and say, yeah, go and spend $10 on this outdated superstar. It is really cringe. The whole rollout is poor.
I'll tell you what, though, as well, right? You mentioned the entrances. Listen, the fact is, when WWE do DLCs, they put in like, what, 5, 6, 7 wrestlers per DLC? Yeah. And also, their entrances are about 4 times the time of the entrances in Fight Forever. So if AEW wanted to do that, they only have 1 star per DLC, and the entrance is like 3 seconds. It'd be nothing. It'd be shorter than a TikTok.
I also agree with the point that Soul's just made, though. It's probably more a THQ decision than it is an AEW decision. In the same way that I don't think the WWE, I think that's probably more a 2K decision rather than I'm sure they've got.
It's true. It is true.
But it's it's like when we're talking about what WWE should do and what AEW should do. Yes, they should pick better publishers, or pick better developers, but I think to put all the blame on them sometimes is unfair because mostly it's probably the company.
To be clear, we're not blaming AEW. We're blaming whoever's involved in this absolute mess, which is actually partially AEW. I do want to clarify that.
Yes,
AEW have a developmental team which WWE don't have. AEW have a developmental team for their game within their company, which WWE don't have, which they thought at the start was going to be positive. Maybe it would have been a bigger disaster if they weren't involved. Who knows? But what we do know is Cedric Alexander is back in NXT, and who better to talk about it than the guy who asked them to do this 35 weeks ago? It's better late than never, David, hey?
Crikey, they took their time, didn't they? I also think I predicted Cedric Alexander to go to AEW about 4 weeks before that. So I keep making moves on poor Cedric. Great that he's there, though. He has spent 35 weeks doing nothing, so it should have happened 35 weeks ago. But, he's had this team with Ashanti, who, from the looks of it last night, is probably also going there as well, because he was part of that as well. I think this is great. I think Cedric will do really well down in NXT. I think he will be a very big asset to them. I would put him. There are so many guys you can work with right now. Put him in the tag scene if you want to. You put him in the North American scene with the Obafemis of the world. You can put him in the main event scene. I don't know. You can. The thing about Cedric is, I do think he's versatile enough. He can pretty much go anywhere. I think he is someone who needs a refresh and a rebrand. So I wouldn't push him too hard too quickly. I think that he would be a nice way to sort of bring him back up. But I think you give him a good couple of months down in NXT and he could rebuild something that could be worked with on the main roster. But yeah, I think, I always love veterans coming down and helping the younger stars. I want Cedric to do some good wrestling because it's been so long since we've seen Cedric do the kind of wrestling that we saw him do back in 2016 at the Cruiserweight Classic. He's such a talented wrestler and has been given next to nothing to do. And I really hope that this can sort of kickstart him back to where I wanted him to be 35 weeks ago when I said he should go down to NXT for this exact reason. Let's make something of everyone on the roster. Otherwise, what's the point of having them there in the first place? So very, very good decision, and I'm fully behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when Triple H took over creative, there was a list of what we, consider Triple H guys. I spoke the other day about Pete Dunne. Cedric Alexander is another one of those names, right? Where you kind of thought, okay, these guys are going to get a huge push now. And they were not even shown most of the time. It's just crazy. I did not expect it.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is that as much as we have Triple H guys, Triple H had the developmental roster at the time. And even when he was, even when he had his big dogs in 2017 through 2019, most of those are gone now. If you actually look at it, it's incredible. They're all gone. They're either coaches or they're in AEW or TNA or on the Indies or everywhere else. But of the people that he did pay a lot of attention to, the honest truth of the matter is he's now inherited those guys plus an entire main roster of some of the most talented. Because bear in mind, a lot of people, a lot of the main roster guys were being mistreated. All were being well treated. Even people like Seth Rollins, needed that sort of, So I think Triple H you can't push everyone. Do I think they should have pushed
No,
Dijak
I agree.
harder? Yes, they should have. But when you look at it, like at the end of the day, there is only so much you can do with so many people, and I think horribly if this doesn't work, if NXT doesn't work out and significantly upgrade his stock, I could see him being on the chopping block. And I mean that with no disrespect to Cedric, because he's fantastic. But if he can't, I think Triple H's thing is, if you can't build them back, then let them go and do something elsewhere. And so I think let's really hope this works, because Cedric is great.
Absolutely. But if he does, listen, he's one of those guys where, like, if they get released, it's like, they're going to have a job elsewhere, right? Well, it's not as bad as certain other, because like there's like some of like the NXT, like the homegrown guys get released, and you're like, oh, like Rick Boogs. I remember he got released. I was like, he's going to have to really, I think, work up from the bottom on the independent scene. But David Martin, DIY, Triple H guys, great point. But at the same time, it took quite a while for them to get a
long time.
Yeah, but now let's move on, because we need to talk about AEW Dynamite. We need to preview AEW Dynamite. Of course, David, you will be reviewing that on WrestlingRepublic.com tonight, but we do have a bit of a stat card for the show today. AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland will appear. We'll have Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Page in the finals of the men's Owen Hart Cup tournament, with Jeff Jarrett as a special enforcer. Willow Nightingale versus Mariah May in the finals of the women's Owen Hart Cup tournament. We have Samoa Joe versus Chris Jericho in a Stampede Street Fight. That one's going to be fun. And then we also have Claudio Castagnoli versus Carl Fletcher versus Pac versus Tomohiro Ishii in a four-way match, which I believe has some other unique name in it too, which I can't seem to find here. That's very random to me. Maybe somebody can explain
Global
that.
Glory four-way.
Global what?
Glory.
Why? Anyway, I'm sure one of you guys hopefully can explain this to me. Mercedes Moné's going to have a double championship victory toast. I mean, I thought she's already had a couple of celebrations, but I guess the party continues when you've got the Moné. Ha ha ha. But I think this is going to be a great show. But the question I have for all of you, I've got 3 questions for you all to answer. Question number 1, Danielson or Hangman. Question number 2, Willow or Mariah May. And question number 3, what are you most excited for? David, I'll kick things off with you.
Hangman, Mariah, the four-way. There we are. That's your 3 answers.
Ooh,
no, I think Hangman's going to win. I think that'll be the more competitive of the two in terms of it could go either way. I think Hangman Swerve makes sense. I also think Danielson Swerve will also make sense. So I'd be happy either way, but I do think Hangman would be the more likely option. I think Mariah is winning. I don't see any other alternative. It's going to be Mariah and Tony. Of course it is. At All In, because that's the story they've been telling for the last 4 or 5 months. As for the match I'm most excited for, it is the four-way. Because the 4 guys in it are insane. And I think the match is going to be fantastic. But just remind me, it's Ishii, Fletcher, is it Pac?
Yeah, Pac and Claudio.
And Claudio, of course it is. I think that if they're not going to do Ospreay, because they're building Ospreay MJF, that's the feud they're currently building. I'm not sure that's the all-in match. They're going to have to build it for a while for that to be the all-in match. So it could be, but if it's not the all-in match, I could see Ospreay Pac for the international. I'll just put the 2 British guys and have them go out and steal the show. I could see this match, this Global Glory 4-way, which is, I'm assuming, has been named that way because they're 4 guys from 4 different countries.
Yeah.
I think I think they'd be foolish to not link this into the international title somehow, clues in the name. So whoever wins it, I think will probably have some stuff to do with Ospreay. Please let that be Pac. I've seen Claudio wrestle him. I've seen Ishii wrestle him in New Japan. I've seen Fletcher wrestle him. Let's do Pac Ospreay. Please. Please, for me, let's do Pac Ospreay. And I think that's what a lot of people want.
Yeah.
So why not? We're better than Wembley. And so I think if you're not going to have him wrestle for the world, which I don't think they will. Well, they're not going to because it's the and MJF. I wonder if they're going to be building it for too long. Although it could happen. I think it's either Ospreay MJF or it's Ospreay Pac.
Yeah.
Either way, in any event, what a four-way that's going to be from a technical perspective, even if it has, like, at the moment, no stakes. But those four guys.
The thing is, if this is my issue with AEW, though, great match. I'm looking forward to it because I'm a hardcore fan. If you're not a hardcore fan, you look at this. Why are they fighting? Don't know.
I'm not being funny. With AEW is a more hardcore centered crowd. B, if you wanna, this isn't the big building point of the show.
No, it's
they're building the show on the
that's
Owen Hart
true,
finals.
I guess.
Like, why not have it? Why not have a bit of fun? You know, why not?
Fair enough.
Why not put a match with these guys and go, hey, you like wrestling? You like these four guys that they do really good wrestling? Here, they're gonna have a really good wrestle, and then we'll set all the rest of the stories out among them. If this was the only thing they were building, I'd understand. But this is just a great match on an already story-driven card with two finals and the culmination, hopefully, please God, of the Jericho Joe feud.
Let's hope so, hey. And I mean, but so saying, I'm an Arsenal fan. I can't have fun because we lose all the time. No, we don't. We almost won the league, right?
Keyword almost.
You didn't.
But you did.
Where are you guys in the league? But also,
it doesn't
right?
Matter.
Mariah
you
May.
had 3 chances and you blew
Mariah May is gonna win the women's title at Wembley. So I'm saying she's winning tonight. And she's going to then have she's going to be sponsoring Arsenal next season. We'll have a big picture of Mariah May on our shirts. It'll be delightful. It'll be just the best thing ever. But Shad, not Shad, Chaos first, then Shad. I want to hear from you. Who's going to win these two matches and what are you most excited for?
It wouldn't surprise me. I thought you were going to leave me till last because obviously I just cussed out Arsenal. Anyway, yeah. So Bryan Danielson and Adam Page. I just realized that Jeff Jarrett is a special guest enforcer.
I did say that.
Did you? Okay, but still,
Jarrett's been integral to the rest of the story. He was in the semi-final as well.
Fair enough. I understand that. I get it. But yeah, it's just I feel like he's going to screw over Danielson. But we're going to get Jarrett against Danielson and all in. I don't know. But yeah, my pick for that one is Hangman Adam Page. I think it's most likely going to go through with that one. And we all know that Danielson pretty much spoiled it that he doesn't want to win the world championship anytime soon. So that's that. Mariah May, definitely it's going to be that. It's a no brainer. Nightingale already got her shot before, so yeah, it's Mariah May, and I'm mostly looking forward to the and I hope Joe completely destroys Jericho. I can't stand that thing, and the global 4-way is what I'm looking forward to. That could go either way. I didn't really think of it, but yeah, David made a great suggestion: Ospreay versus Pac, because if I recall, Pac didn't have a match last year's All In, did he? I think he was injured, I believe.
He was injured,
so. Yeah, he was injured. So yeah, I feel like if he out of anybody deserves a great match, and them two will create absolute fireworks. I will love to see that in person. And yeah, I've never got a chance to see Pac as Pac or as Neville. So yeah, my introduction to him in person will be absolutely awesome. And I just can't wait for it. So yeah, that match is going to be a barn burner, in the words of Jim Ross. And but yeah, those are my predictions. And yeah, I look forward to the 4-way. I don't care who wins. It'll be a great match.
I actually don't know if I've actually seen Pac wrestle live either, so I'm excited for that if that does happen. Or Ospreay and Jeff. Either way, it's a win-win because I want to see either one of your predictions, David. But Shad, I want to know what your predictions are for tonight and what you are most excited for.
Yeah, so for the Owen matches, I got Adam Hangman Page beating Bryan Danielson. I'm super excited for that match also. The other bouts they've had have been phenomenal. It's great to see Jeff Jarrett, as the enforcer. Also, just the fact that he's tied with everything with the Owen Cup and, the close relationship he has to it. So, curious to see if he plays about a book or he goes back to his heel tactics. We'll have to wait and see. Willow versus Mariah May. Ah, man, I hate this because those are my girls, man, and I'm a big Mariah May fan, and I do have her winning, but I think Willow Nightingale is like one of the most talented professional wrestlers on that roster. Just how amazing of a person she is, and her fiery promos and all that, and I really hope that we get some sort of direction, and I think her for that world title at some point would be cool to see. The Fatal 4-way definitely is going to be crazy, and I know you guys have been saying Pac, but I could also see Kyle Fletcher winning that and us getting a Fletcher and Ospreay type of match just because of the whole Don Callis family situation, as well as them being old faction mates. But for the, me being different, and I always want to pick something different because you already talked about it. I'm actually excited for Mercedes Moné getting a back-to-back celebration because she's Mercedes 2 belt. But I want to see more progression of her and Britt Baker. Uh, Even if it may be copy and paste with her interrupting this part, I really want to see this feud culminate and become a big time feud going into All In because Britt Baker is a staple in the women's division for AEW. She's the first, woman signed to AEW, but she's the first superstar woman that they had on their roster that kind of developed in there. And Mercedes is Mercedes. She's one of the biggest women's superstars in general. And I feel for the sake of women's wrestling, this is a feud, if given enough heat, given enough booking, could be something super special for the history of the AEW women's division. So I'm gonna go with her celebration. It's always good to see her do that dance in the middle of stage awkwardly too. So yeah.
Do you know what it smells like to me? It doesn't smell of champagne. It doesn't even smell of Monet. It actually smells of a heel turn. It's such a heel move having a celebration 2 weeks in a row, and I'm
one
hoping
for that belt
that's
and
the
the
case.
other for this belt, right? She's got
Yeah, exactly. I'd love to see her turn heel, and I think we're seeing it. I think indeed we are, and David Marge agrees with you. He wants to see Britt Baker back in that title picture. I agree. Like you said, Shad, she is, of course, one of the... CM Punk said she's one of the 4 pillars of AEW, quite famously.
She is. She besides Max, I think she's more relevant than the other 3 pillars in the sake
Yeah.
of AEW, in my opinion. I
You
think
could
she's
definitely argue that.
bigger star than Darby, Sammy, and the Scapegoat, who I like. Scapegoat is the man.
Darby, I think, is the only other one you could argue. I think she's definitely bigger than Sammy. And yeah, I think Scapegoat, well, I think at least now, they built it into his gimmick or whatever, but he was really tarnished by those few months off. But guys, that does bring us to the end of the show. England's are kicking off in 10 short minutes. We're going to bring it home. I believe in us, and I'm going to be heartbroken in about 2 hours' time.
The engine is still running.
Thank you to Shad, thank you to Chaos, thank you to David for joining me here today, and thank you to everybody for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe as well, and we will be back here tomorrow, normal time on a Thursdays, 11 p.m. UK, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific for Throwback Thursday with Shad, Anthony, and Clark. We will see you then. Peace.
Yeet.